Chapter 1.
Alright, so with the upcoming It movie coming out tomorrow, I decided to go back and watch the original It, which came out 2 years ago. Can't believe it's already been 2 years. This movie made a shit ton of money, and that's why they are making a second one. You got Bill Hader and James McAvoy. I'm very excited about that one. I haven't watched any of the trailers except for the first one. And I've already heard rumors about It Chapter 3, so we might get a third one. Now, this one is directed by Andy Muschietti, I believe, and it's supposed to be closer to the original material. I've never read the books. I don't read books, so I don't know. But I grew up watching the 1990 version. I watched it a couple of times as a kid, maybe like twice at the most. And I remember it actually being one of those few movies that actually scared the shit out of me. I remember watching it on TV and it. That wasn't on purpose. I remember watching it on TV and it actually like gave me nightmares that night. And I remember bragging about how it wasn't gonna scare me because my mom was like, "You shouldn't watch it. It's gonna scare you." And I was like, "Whatever." I watched Chucky, and I remember just like not being able to sleep that night because of that like shower scene, like all the shower heads are like turning or something. And now I found out that it was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace. Don't need to explain that. You should know who he is. I remember seeing this movie, and me, my sister, who was like 6 years older than me, we went to go see it. Her husband was there. I think a couple of their friends and we were late. I think the commercials were already starting, and we get in there, and there's this old, brittle woman, just basically bird bones, like she's about to snap and die any day now, and she belongs in like at Walmart, like just like welcome to Walmart, that type of person. Except they never actually say it, so what's the point of having them? They never greet you. But she's like looking at me, she's looking at my sister, looking back at me, like, how old are you? And it's like, are you fucking joking? 22. Who gives a shit? And then she's like, look at my mom. She looks at my sister. Is like, are you his mother? And then that just like pissed off my sister. So I remember this movie for that alone. It was just hilarious because my sister I think went off on her. If not, whatever. But then to make the story a little bit more interesting, I kicked her in the pussy, and then we went in and we watched the movie, and it was awesome. I think the biggest thing that most people really like about this movie, one of them being Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. This guy can do all the things that you see, like his little lip thing, the eye. He can make both his eyes go in like different directions, which was something that the director supposedly wanted from the character, and just coincidentally found the one guy in Hollywood who could do those things. Like makes his little lip thing, does that creepy smile. He's got the eye thing going. Everyone thought it was like CGI, like his eyes were like CGI going that way. It's like, no, that's the actor. He can do that shit. And I like his little laugh. He seems more goofy and like childlike and just more clownish. Like the clown in 1990 was more like your drunken uncle. The way Tim Curry talked, he had like a deep voice. It just seemed like a clown in makeup. This one seems like, and the way he's dressed in this one, it's way different. He looks like a medieval Renaissance clown. He's got like the all gray outfit, and he just, I like the different look. They didn't just like rip off the same exact look. They actually changed it a little bit. So I like that. And this is a remake. Let me just clear that up too. Everyone was like, this isn't technically a remake. If you're been out of shape because of that, get a job. This is a remake, all right? Just consider, I always consider that 1990 like TV thing to be like a long 3-hour movie, because that's what it was to me. I never even knew it was a TV series until like 2 years ago. So to me, it's always been a movie. This is a remake, all right? So fuck off with your nonsense. This is a remake. I like the kids acting for the most part. There's one person who's weak, and I'll get into that. But for the most part, they're all pretty good. They're serviceable. I like their chemistry together. They feel like real kids. They're written like real kids. They kind of talk vulgar like kids. Like in the 80s, it's not like 50s kids. I feel like every generation got more vulgar and more inappropriate and just more wild because parents got worse and worse in each generation. Like the 1990 version, they're like kids in like the 50s or something, and this one it's 80s. So now this new movie coming up tomorrow will be taking place in 2015, 27 years later, like from 88. This movie starts in 88 and then like ends in 89. So it's going to be like 2015 or 16 in this new movie, if my math is correct. 27 years, yeah. But yeah, just the way they play off of each other, like just the way they tease each other. They got the one kid, Richie, doing your mama jokes. It just feels authentic, because that felt like me, like my cousins growing up, the way we talk to each other. And there's even like one scene where they're throwing rocks at people. And I did that shit too. Like there was a time where I had a bunch of like seashells and rocks, like just hard ass rocks, just throwing them at my cousin. I'm surprised I still have most of my teeth. I like that they're each unique too. You got Ben, he's the chubby one, of course. And he's the new kid in town. You got Beverly, she's the redhead girl, and she gets picked on by the other girls. But they all got one thing in common. They're the losers, and they get picked on by the typical stereotype, over the top, almost homicidal bully that is in almost every Stephen King book and slash film adaptation. But you got Richie, he's the yo mama joke, he's the comical one. There's a few of them that are funny, but he's the funniest one. And he's the one with the glasses, he's the taller one. And then you got Bill, he's the one with the stutter. And he's the one with the missing brother who gets eaten at the very beginning. And then you got Eddie, or slash Eddie, whatever. He's the fast talking one who was in Shazam recently. And he's the annoying one to me. But he's also the germaphobe, and he's got the overprotective mom. And then you got, who else is there? And then there's Stan. He's the Jewish kid who to me is the weakest actor of the bunch. And he also has the least amount of dialogue, so maybe that's because of his weak acting. And then you got Mike, who works for a slaughterhouse, or he works on a farm. He lost his parents and he lives with his uncle, and he's the token black kid. I like that they chose to go with the 80s instead of redoing the 50s. Like I said, the other one was like the 50s, and then this one's 80s. So you see like all these posters. You got like a Gremlins poster, Lethal Weapon 2's mentioned. You got like a Nightmare on Elm Street 5 poster. It's at the theaters. You got Batman at the theaters. There's even like a Beetlejuice poster. So all that 80s atmosphere, it's like they nailed it. And we got a big budget movie like this, they should nail it. Like you should expect it. And if they fail, what's the excuse? And I really like the cinematography in this movie and the way like some things are shot. There's a lot of, I didn't notice it the first time I watched it. And this time I noticed a lot of like camera tilts and a lot of like Dutch angles. Like a lot of things would like slowly tilt and lots of like zooms, like whenever Pennywise was chasing someone. But I like the way this movie looks. It looks pretty beautiful. Now for the little things I did not care about. The bullies are the typical over-the-top bullies. Like carving his name into people's stomachs. That's just over the top. And I like how he ends up killing his dad with like the switchblade. Or what is it? It's like a box cutter. He like pushes the button. It reminded me of Halloween, Rob Zombie's. And he kills his friends too. Like that's a deleted scene. He kills his friends. And but yeah, I didn't care for the acting. The girl bully, the girl bully's acting, yeah, I did not care for that. That's what I meant to say. The girl bully who like signs like losers on the guy's cast, I thought her acting was bad. There's not too much to complain about. Ed's annoying. I just find him annoying. Eddie was annoying. I just wanted him to shut up. Like, just dial that back. Like, I don't know why he's so fast talking. It's not like he's like eating Pixie Sticks like in each scene, like just stuffing candy down his throat. It's not even Halloween. It's like August. You do got some pretty shady, like shoddy, like CGI shots, especially that painting woman. The woman from the painting, that was like the worst CGI in the whole movie, hands down. And I already said Stan Kid, the Jewish kid, he was the worst actor of the bunch. And yeah, that's it. And as I mentioned, that the main bully Henry, he looks like Joe Dirt to me. Anybody else? Anybody else see that connection? All right, so that's the end of that. And let's go into my spoiler discussion. Let's just relax and talk about this movie. Okay, I love the opening. You got that piano music, and you find out it's the mom of Billy playing it, but then you get Georgie, he meets Pennywise in the sewer, and the dialogue almost feels like something like a pedophile would say to get like a kid in his van, like the shit that Pennywise is saying. But I just love that we actually get to see a freaking kid, like 6 years old, get his arm eaten off. Like, they don't, like imply it and then, like, cut away and we hear, like, a scream and it's over. No, we see a kid just crawling on the road, blood's gushing out of his arm, and he gets dragged into the sewer. It is awesome. You don't see that too often, so that was just... I remember being in a theater, like, I wasn't expecting it. I thought it was just going to cut away. But when that happened, my jaw was dropped. I was like, holy, they're going for it. But then they don't go for it later. Like, when you got Patrick, he's in the tunnel, he's got, like, the flamethrower, the MacGyver flamethrower, like, lighter with the spray can, and then he just dies off camera. It's like, I want to see that dick die, so why is that off camera? This is bullshit. But then what else happens? And then we see the sheep. We see a sheep get shot right in the freaking face, just poof, CGI blood, I guess. Poof. But then Patrick dies off camera. That's stupid. And then Mike sees the clown. they all get to see like the clown one at a time, and it's like very quick. This movie, the first half of this movie goes by very quick, way quicker than I realized. But like that, he sees the clown is like hanging in the slaughterhouse, and then the painting lady attacks Stan, and it's awful. It got my dad. He thought that was the scariest part of the movie. I realized that all the adults in this movie are either evil or weird. We got Ed's mom, who's just out of shape, just sits around doing nothing, overprotective. We got like some sort of like Munchausen thing going on where he like she makes her son think that he's sick, and then they're all watching the same show, like Beverly's dad, Ed's mom, and I think somebody else. Like there's like 3 adults in this movie watching this kids show, and then it ends up being Pennywise doing it. Like I don't know. There's something else going on that I don't know about. I feel like there's like some other like subplot or like something else that's going on, like some sort of curse, like where all the adults are like blind to everything. Because then even Beverly's dad doesn't see all the blood in the bathroom, and I don't know, like maybe the book would explain it. I'm just like, why don't the adults see this? Why is it that all these kids can see it? So explain that to me in the comments below. And then that one kid made a period joke when they went to go clean up that blood. I was like, really? Richie would have said something. And yeah, then the boys, they try like carve his name into fucking like Ben's stomach. And like only one of the 3 bullies with Henry is like protesting it. All 3 of them should have been protesting. And then we see the headless corpse. That's the creepiest part of the whole movie, is when like Ben's in the library and like this headless like zombie or whatever the fuck that is just like walking down the stairs. That's the creepiest part. It's probably my favorite scene. And then the Patrick bully dies, and the balloon, we got the classic balloon that like, it's like a CGI balloon that like pops in, and there's Pennywise. And then Beverly's dad is a piece of shit. This is a guy that you want to die immediately. He's like, who's daddy's little girl? And he like acts like she can never grow up, and he's like molesting her. The fact that she's even nice to anybody, especially boys, is mind-baffling. Like the fact that she's like nice to Ben immediately. When she sees Ben, she's like signing his yearbook, she's smiling. It's like, he's gonna probably stalk you. Like a real woman wouldn't do that. Like, because that kid could start stalking you, and she's not attracted to him, but it's like you're making him attracted to you, so now you're in that awkward situation where you gotta turn him down eventually, because he's in love with you now because of what you just did. You could have just made it seem like you were friends with him, but you make it seem like you're in love with him, and you're clearly not. If you're not in for it, if you're not committed, if you're not actually in love, do not trick men, because then they will stalk your ass. Ben was gonna start stalking. He's like writing her like poem. He writes her a poem, sends it to her, doesn't even say who it's from. So then she thinks it's like Billy, and then when she finds out it wasn't from Billy, she's like, "Oh shit, it was Ben. Fuck, shouldn't have signed this yearbook." Then they all go. They have plans to go swim, and none of them brought swimming trunks. They're like, "We just like to swim in our whitey tighties." And then like Beverly, she just comes by and she just knew exactly when they were there. Like it's just coincidental. Like they told her they would be there tomorrow, and then she just arrives as soon as they arrive. And then Ed sees the homeless leper and the clown. And what's strange about this scene is he's established at this point to be a germaphobe, and yet he drops all his pills on the ground, and then he goes to pick them back up and put them back in his case to take orally later on. So is he a germaphobe or not? Like that doesn't seem like his character. So why is it in this? They could have just rewrote that, like, oh, he dropped the pills, fuck the pills, walk away, bumps into the leper, in which has like this weird alien nose, like there's no nose, and like just opens up. It's weird. I like that Beverly's hair that she cuts, like attacks her later on. She cuts all her hair to like get back at her dad, and for some reason puts it down the drain. Like, you know, you're gonna clog that drain. You could have just like threw it in the trash, threw it out the window, all your hair clippings. Don't use the drain. That's just, you're not thinking straight. But I like that her hair like comes back and like grabs her. And then Billy sees George, the clown. He's like the second to last one to see Pennywise. And he's got his brother down there, and he's like, "You'll float too, you'll float too." Another thing that just makes these kids seem like kids is Richie when he pretends like he's not a virgin. Because that's something that like all kids, like teenagers that age do. They always brag about not being a virgin. Like if you've ever like played any like online gaming at all and you've encountered kids, they always brag about how much sex they have, despite the fact that they've never seen a vagina in their life. They're just like, I've had sex plenty of times. I just fucked your mom last night. And then Richie's doing the same thing. He's like, it's like, you guys are all seeing the clown. I haven't seen the clown. What is this, like a virgin thing? Is that why I'm not seeing it? And then later on, he's like doing like this dick measuring joke where they're like drawing straws to like see who has to go in the house. And he drew like a short straw. He's like, you're lucky we're not measuring dicks. Otherwise, I would have won and I'd be outside and not in here. Richie is my favorite character. I'm just going to say that right now. He's my favorite. And I think he's in Stranger Things, the actor, which I do not watch Stranger Things. And then the losers, they meet Mike because he's being bullied by Henry. Henry's really the thing that like ties them together. Like he's like the bridge that connects like Mike and Ben and Beverly to the main group of like 3 or 4 kids. Because you got Billy, Eddie, and Richie and Stan. Those are like the core 4, like the South Park characters. They're like the Stan, March, and Kyle, and Cartman, and Kenny. And then you got the other 3 that come in because of the bully. Like the bullies in this movie basically to like connect these characters to the main 4 losers. At least that's what I noticed. I could be wrong. And then we see we get this 27-year exposition, which reminds me of Jeepers Creepers. If I'm not mistaken, that's the same thing. We got the creeper who comes back every like 23 springs or 27 springs or some shit for 23 or 7 days, and he needs to eat eyeballs and tongues and all kinds of shit. It's kind of different, but still like the same random number in the 20s. Like it's random number, no reason. And then we get the garage scene with the giant like CGI. I'm not sure if it's CGI. It looks CGI. It's like this big old. I'm not sure how they did that. It has to be CGI. The big old Pennywise comes out of the photo projector. I thought that was a pretty creepy scene until he came out of the wall. I was just like, oh god, that looks bad. I don't know, I'm just not a fan of CGI in horror movies, period. Sometimes it works, but sometimes I'm just like, oh, that's not real, that's not really there. And it just takes me right out of it. And then we see the clown room. They go to the house to go find the well in the clown room, all the clowns. That's another one of my favorite scenes. And we see one clown that looks just like Tim Curry's Pennywise. So that was like a little wink and nod to the original. Richie, he sees like his own corpse in the coffin. I thought that was pretty creepy and effective. And then Pennywise comes out of the fridge, and that was like the first time on set that all the kids saw Bill Skarsgård as the clown. And he's like all contorted, like twisting his body and shit. And I like that he's like mimicking Ed. He's like mentally torturing him. Like he's like taking his time. He's like Freddy Krueger. He just takes his time. He's building up their fear. He's like grabbing his arm, like pretending like he's about to eat it, and he's like crying, like mimicking Ed. I just love Bill Skarsgård's performance in that scene. That's like, out of all the Pennywise scenes in this movie, the fridge scene's probably my favorite. Then like the drain scene, the sewer scene where Georgie gets killed. Those are probably my 2 favorite moments. I hope we get a lot more in the sequel tomorrow. And then they see like the 3 doors, and it's like scary, not very scary, it's very scary, and they're like, we're going to not scary. And then there's like a woman cut in half screaming. It's like, that's not scary at all. Jesus Christ, I wonder what's behind door number 3. Very scary. And then we get like the werewolf hand thing. Is that like a callback to the first TV series where like he turns into a werewolf? His hand like turns into like a big old claw, and he like cuts Ben's stomach. Poor Ben. He gets his stomach ripped open like 2-3 times in this movie. Gets his stomach ripped open by the clown, from the bully, and they don't even do shit to heal him after the second time. They go to like take Ed home so he can go get his arm fixed because his arm got broken. Meanwhile, Ben's bleeding hamburger helper out of his stomach, and they're not doing shit to heal that. Like that seems like a bigger mess to clean up. That seems more urgent than this shit with Ben's arm. Like that's secondary. Like let's focus on Ben's stomach. Ed's mom's a bitch, and then she like kills her dad. I think hits him over the head with like the toilet lid. Awesome shit, and he kidnaps her because I guess he wants all of them to go to the location so he can get them all at once or something. I like that Pennywise isn't just like focusing on this one group. Like that's what I thought the first time. I was like, why is he just getting these people? Why isn't he just going? But then there's like missing posters, so he's killing all kinds of kids. But for some reason, he can't get this losers group because they're not scared enough yet, so he's kind of like building up their fear throughout the summer. So I don't know, I like that. But then one of my favorite lines in this movie is Ed when he throws his pills at his mom. He's like, "They're gazebos." He meant to say he meant to say placebos because they're bullshit. They're gazebos. That was awesome. And then we see like the lights in the mouth and like it like brainwashes Beverly and she's like floating. I guess that's from the book. Again, I've never read it, but I thought that was interesting because I don't remember that from the TV series. Correct me if I'm wrong. Henry wants to shoot a cat. Can this guy die any sooner? Can he die, please? And then he finally does die. He gets thrown down the drain. The well. I keep saying drain. He gets thrown down the well, and that's not enough. I wanted to see him like get like ripped open or some shit, but he wants to shoot a cat. Fuck Henry. It wouldn't be a horror movie if the kids weren't being stupid. They keep separating somehow. Like when they're in the house, Ed like stops walking. He separates himself. Then Richie separates himself from Billy. And then when they go in the well, the Stan separates himself. And then Billy just starts walking away from the group again. It's like, why can't you stick together? Beverly says she saw the future. She saw them as adults. So she's foreshadowing the second movie. And then they do the Blood Brothers thing where they're like, you know, we need to promise each other that in 27 years we're all going to come back to this town to fight this thing again. It's like, okay, write a contract, say it out loud, just pinky promise. This old Blood Brothers shit, that's extreme. That is extreme. I don't care what the fuck the promise is. I am not cutting my hand open. Have you not heard of HIV? This is like 1988. This is like the height of the AIDS epidemic. They should all be scared of like getting anything. Especially Ed, he's the germaphobe and he still fucking does it. It's like, that's just bullshit. And like, they don't even feel pain like one of them does, but then Beverly does it and she's like smiling. It's like, what are you, a sadistic bastard? Like, a masochist? She likes getting hurt, I guess. They could have just been like, all right, pinky promise, see you in 27 years, and then I would have been fine. But cutting their hands open, what's next? An orgy? I heard they were supposed to have an orgy at the end of this movie, and they cut that out. I could be wrong about that. I haven't read the book. So yeah, final thoughts on it. This was pretty good. The only complaints I have here is some hit or miss acting with a couple of people, the over-the-top bully that just seems unrealistic, and then some CGI shots here and there. But overall, it's shot well, looks well. There's some pretty good performances by these kids. I like the whole 80s atmosphere. It has a pretty good score. I like that piano score. Piano scores are always like my favorite. You go, Michael Myers. And I like Pennywise better than Tim Curry, blasphemy, but I think he's better. I like the look of him. I like some of the cinematography, the way some things are framed. I like some of the shots, the creepy house, some of the scares, the headless corpse. Lots of great things about this movie. So when it comes to It 2017, if you haven't seen this movie, go out and buy it. There you go. My thoughts on It Chapter 1. I'll see you tomorrow for It Chapter 2. Will it be better? I hope it is. I've avoided all trailers so that I can go in blind. I've only seen that first teaser trailer, so hopefully it's great. Speaking of that, hopefully. But let me know what you thought about this movie in the comments below. Have you seen it yet? Let me know. And if you like what you're seeing here, you can hit this like button. And you can become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.